Virtual STEM Club Art in Motion. I'm Sandy, and today we are going to take some watercolor paint and add some rubbing alcohol and see what happens. You should have picked up your take and make bag for the project, which will contain everything you need to do this. Let's get started. In your take and make bag, you're going to find a paint palette. You're going to find a pipette, and we'll use that for our rubbing alcohol. You'll find 2 sheets of watercolor paper, and you'll find a bottle of rubbing alcohol. The one thing that you will need from your home is some water, and that's because we're using watercolor paints. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to take our piece of watercolor paper. Now you can use this full size if you want, or if you want to cut it down, you certainly can do that. One of the really important steps for this project is to make sure that your paper and your paint stay wet. If the paint kind of dries before we get to the point where we put the alcohol on the paper, the experiment's not going to work because it needs the wetness of the water in order for the experiment to work. So you can take your paintbrush out of your palette, and I've already opened my palette, but yours is covered in plastic and you'll just have to take that off. And you can put water on your paper like this. You can take your paper and run it to the sink and run some water over it. One thing I will caution you, it's watercolor paint and it will come out, but this project could be messy, so make sure you get permission to do your project wherever you're going to do it. Make sure it's on a surface that's easy to clean. Now, just for sake of time, I'm going to just kind of pour a little bit of water on my paper and just spread the water around. And we'll just make sure that our whole paper is wet. And you can kind of do it this way if you want. You can just make sure it's good and wet in all the spots. There we go. Looks like we got water. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but I've got water, a good amount of water all over my paper. And if it feels like you've got too much water, you can always take a napkin or a paper towel and blot it off. Like right there, it looks like I've got a lot of water. So I'll just take my paper towel and kind of blot some of it off. But you want to make sure your paper is good and wet. All right, so then the next thing we'll do is we'll paint our paper. You can make a design on there. You could paint a flower. You can paint just different colors. However you want to make your little piece of art, you're certainly welcome to do that. So you'll just get your brush wet and you'll take it in your color, whichever color you're going to start with, and just start drawing on your paper, painting on your paper. And you want as much color on your picture as you can get. So if you have to go over a certain spot several times, you can certainly do that. And then when you want to change colors, don't forget to dip your brush in your water and change your color. And again, you can paint pictures, you can paint a house, a flower, your pet, whatever you want to paint on here is great. So I'm just gonna put some paint all over here just so we can see for our experiment. And if you kind of mix colors, that's okay, because in watercolor you can get all kinds of fun shades when you mix the colors. Sometimes you can even create new colors. And sometimes if you mix them, they get a little muddy, but that's okay too. This is all for experiment's sake. I'm going to go over this green because it's looking a little light. And just play with your colors. Draw your picture until you've got your paper completely covered. And I'm working a little bit fast here just so my paper doesn't dry. Because again, if the paper is dry, the experiment's not going to work. And just painting away and adding color. Kind of pushing the water around on the paper if I see there's some water puddled yet. Just trying to keep my paper completely wet. Trying not to mix colors too much here. If your paper dries before you get done, you could always just add a little bit more water to your paper if you think it's too dry. So again, I'm just kind of plopping paint on here. We want our colors dark so that we can see what's going to happen with the alcohol. All right, one more color. Let's see. All right, so now that we've got all our color on our paper, it's time to add our alcohol. All right, so we've got that covered, and now we'll go on to the next step. So your rubbing alcohol is taped down just to keep it from spilling. So you want to get the tape off. And we'll take the top off. And then we're going to take our pipette and just stick it in the rubbing alcohol and squeeze. And when you let go of that, that's going to fill up your pipette with the rubbing alcohol. And then we'll take that over here and we'll plop it on the paper. And so when we start putting our rubbing alcohol on the paper, it's moving our paint. And what this is because water and the rubbing alcohol don't mix, that's creating, it's called a resist effect. So you can put big drops, little drops, and it doesn't work as well when you've got an area that's dry, but it looks like our paper here is pretty wet. And when you put more than one drop on, you're getting different size circles in there. You can tap the end of your pipette and try to splatter little drops just to make different designs on your paper. And the color, the paint has pigment in it that's designed to stick to the paper, but when we add the alcohol, it kind of disrupts that and moves our pigment around, and that's part of helping create the resist effect. And then if you run out, you just stick your pipette back in your bottle of alcohol and go back and just keep doing that until you have a design that you like. and you want to let it dry. Don't try to move it like this, because if you pick it up, you're gonna run, your paint's gonna run. If you like that look, I suppose you could do that. The other thing that adds to the design is that the rubbing alcohol will dry faster than the water, so that also aids in creating these fun designs on our paper. And again, you can just tap your pipette and see if you can get little bubbles. But this is a fun way to combine science and art and end up with a fun picture. Thank you for joining us for Virtual STEM Club Art in Motion today. I hope you had fun with this project that was a little bit art and a little bit science. We'd love to see any movies or pictures of you doing this project, and you can share them with us at the email coming across your screen. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time. Bye.